This was meant to have a much better intro, but I have a surprise coming in at some point later in this video. It's not here yet, so I'm doing preliminary steps. Also, this helps my ADHD when I feel like I have nothing to do, which is we are refreshing this area here where we have my red love seat that used to have a couch companion, but we couldn't fit through the door, so I had to donate it, which sits right next to my bookcases, which I will show off to you later. Promise, Scout's honor. But you know, I used to have a piece of art over on the wall, and right now all of my art, my variety of art is just sitting down there because I'm gonna figure out what to do with it. Between that, my bedroom, and possibly also the hallway. But we're kind of refreshing this space. So right now we are on step one, which is hanging this cling film to the windows. As you can see, I've already started, which is only because while you only see bricks, slightly angled that way is in fact the back porch of the people who live in that building. So they could, if they wanted to, look on into this room. Well, I don't think they do. Why would they? You know, I just would prefer that nobody has the ability to look in here. So I wanted to find something that still lets light in, but also gives me an element of privacy. So now you can watch me very terribly struggle bust my way through this. Two of the four needed to be done. Ugh, I always hate stuff that's super precise because I inevitably make mistakes. So it looks slightly like shit if you look too close, and that's okay, I guess, because I don't think anybody will look too close. But only two more left to do there. And then this should be good for the windows for now. We have in two pieces couch, and now you all get to watch me try to put this together myself. This is probably about to be hilarious. Also, shout out to Siva Delivery Services and your driver who helped me bring it into my apartment, because I had initially thought that he was only going to be able to leave it on like the stoop and I was going to have to figure out how to get it into my apartment myself. But shout out to your dude for bringing this in. I sort of assisted, but it was pretty much all him. He was super great and I deeply appreciate it. Like, seriously, because the net weight of this thing, pretty high. But now let's watch me attempt to build something. This is gonna be funny, I'm sure. And now we installed the bottom because I flipped it over. I spared you all me having to move stuff.
Are you guys back at the house or not?
Oh, yeah. You can hear Mark, Wade, and Bob playing Forest, I think. Actually, I'll spare you all this, and we'll just skip ahead to this being done. We have victory! Almost, sorta. Now I gotta get rid of all this cardboard. That was probably definitely a two-person job, but I'm a one-person. We're making it happen. Same day, different shirt. Nobody judge my head towel, it's fine. So now that I have this bad boy set up, which, let me tell you, was a workout. It's probably definitely meant to be done by two people. But I'm stubborn. We're gonna put up this lamp because I had a corner lamp, or a standing lamp, sorry, a floor lamp. But obviously that corner is now occupied by couch. So I got one that actually is a corner lamp, and I moved the other one into my bedroom. Because the thing about this room, it does not have a big light, like an overhead light. So while it is right in front of these windows that get good natural light, you do need a lamp as the sun goes down. If I'm hanging out here on the couch, I definitely need a lamp. So I ordered a corner lamp because that seemed the best thing. It also has shelves on it, which is great because I can then put my Wi-Fi router on it because it's awkward and big and ugly and just takes up space. And I don't want to leave it sitting on my mantle. Kind of kills the vibe. Not that there is much of a vibe. You know what I mean. I'll just get you to the end when it's done. Came and took my other couch. Just it started raining, I felt so bad. But we have, and then there was light right there in the corner. And yes, that is my router, it's fine. Don't want to know, because the natural light is fine by me, but ha ha ha. We have light, we have couch, oh, we have left, hang my art. The best part of this is, I bought a laser level, like a tiny little portable one. It arrived like a day or two ago. I already cannot find it. It has been put somewhere, and I can only think of a couple places where I would have put it, and I did not find it there. So it's vanished into the void. These things are gonna be crooked. The first one already is. I just accept this as my fate at this point. So the first thing we have here is, of course, our map of the Star Trek universe, or aka space in the 24th century. Now, this was done in, I think, all the way up through Enterprise, so there's none of the newer Star Trek stuff in there, but I always liked it because I grew up on Star Trek. Specifically, The Next Generation was my jam. And here we have the arms of the colleges of Oxford. And we are, of course, going to be responsible renters and use command strips. I adore command strips. I think they're one of the greatest inventions ever when it comes to hanging stuff. And on these walls, I have only ever torn up like the smallest bit of paint, and it was really easy to cover over. I mean, it's just eggshell white, or it's white, but it's eggshell type paint, which these work best on. So it's very easy to cover and clean. So, and also super easy to like put on and use. I also have some frames that are other pieces that have wires behind them, so require essentially hooks. And Command does make essentially picture hanging hooks. It'll be kind of my first time using those, so we'll see how I feel about that. But in terms of the strips, I always am just like, give me the most heavy duty ones you can. I am not taking chances, and I put 4 on the back of each frame, 1 on each side. I'm definitely probably gonna have to buy more of these, which is fine. So I still actually have I ordered one frame for a piece that's still coming in. I think I need to order another one, but I was sort of guesstimating at the size. I'm going to try and measure it again, or I'm going to get something else, which there is an option. There. It's because it's a poster, but it's laminated, so trying to frame that's a pain in the ass. So I might get like a poster like hanger things for it. I did the same thing with my Greek myth poster. I bought them, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll actually hang it, but I have basically Command poster strips, so I could hang it that way and just have it so it forms like nice edges for it. Come on now, don't be like that. I don't even know if you guys can hear my background noise. I have YouTube playing in the back. It's entertaining Peg because she's relaxing on the bed. She had such a busy day supervising me building or setting up really the couch and the corner lamp. Alright. The question is, where exactly do I want you to go? Because now I've got a blank spot over there. Maybe I'll put it over there.
maybe. That's the arms of the colleges of Oxford. We've got our arrows will blot out the sun. I've had this literally since like 2006, whenever the heck that movie released, because I adored it. I still adore it. Might come as a shock to some people. They're like, it's not historically accurate. I'm like, I know it's not. Neither is the graphic novel by Frank Miller. But the movie 300, and in that way probably the graphic novel, but the film is fascinating when you look at it from the angle of a story being told. The whole point is we are hearing this story from somebody else. Also, he's telling you the ending when he wasn't even there. So it's very interesting, and I kind of love it for that. Also, it really was visually so revolutionary at the time, and made it even more clear the idea that this is a kind of fantasy, and it's not going for like historical accuracy. Also, I remember going to see it in the theater with my yaya, of all people, who does not like violent movies, but I really don't think she knew what this movie was going to be. She just knew it was about the 300th Thermopylae, and my Greek heritage is from around the Sparta area. It's a little village outside of Sparta called Skura. So my yaya was very pleased about that. And the moment Jared Butler came on screen, my yaya just looked at him before he even opened his mouth and just said, "Oh, he looks Greek," which I thought was hilarious, because I knew who Jared Butler was at that point. I had seen several of his films. Part of why I was excited for the movie was that I was his fan. I am still a fan of Jared Butler. I realize it sounds like I'm no longer his fan. Oh no, I'm still a fan. Trust me, your girl will still show up to a Jerry Butler movie. So I knew he's Scottish, and I'm like, he sure ain't gonna sound Greek. Sure enough, he didn't. But I don't care. Like, I think some people get really up in arms over, like, characters not having accents. And unless the accent is a point in the story, like you're trying to show a character as the other, right? Or an outsider in the community, or in the community they're in, or something. Why have them have an accent? Because they wouldn't, if you look at that, you go, well, they wouldn't have been speaking English either. So it's like, we're hearing it in the language that we hear, but it's them speaking theirs. The HBO show Chernobyl did it that absolutely brilliantly, where everybody just had their own accent. They weren't trying to speak with Russian or Ukrainian accents, and it suited that show. Even though anything they read, anything they listened to, you know, was in Russian, anything they read was in Cyrillic, which it just really added to the fact that, you know, they don't hear themselves as speaking with a Russian accent like they're speaking Russian. So it was just sort of one of those things where I just remember my yaya going, "Oh, he looks Greek." I'm like, "He sure ain't gonna sound it," but he did look very, like, he looked like a classic Greek painting. I mean, like a painting on a vase or something. I was like, he really does, with that hair and the facial hair, and I was like, damn. He actually, like, the profile absolutely does. It was pretty wild, which I found entertaining. And like I said, I like the movie 300. Is it perfect? No, most movies aren't. I don't think I've ever really seen a movie that I could say is like 100% perfect. There's not even a nitpick I could make. No, it's just like, but I love that movie. It's still so fun, and it's such a fantasy that you watch it and you know from the start, like, oh, this is what we're doing, right? We have that. So the question is, arrows will blot out the sun. It will go in here. I have several other pieces. The thing I'm debating is that all of my pieces don't really follow a theme, right? I do have other ones I've left. A frame I have left coming in is here. This was a print I got that's London to Scotland, the Hogwarts Express. It was fan made, I believe, so no money went to JK. But I bought it well before she really revealed herself to have the opinions that she does. And I still like it because that's still a part of my childhood, especially. And it's kind of a cool print. What else do I have? Let me get the other pieces. Let's see. This is an etching of a self-portrait of Rembrandt. My dad and his partner They happened to be touring like his house or the Rembrandt Museum. They were in Europe at the tail end of last year. And because I'm a big fan of classic art, they got this for me. And the cool thing is that essentially they have the original etching that he made, where you would etch it into essentially metal or whatever it was that you could then lacquer with ink and print. And that was how a lot of artists, especially in like the Dutch Renaissance, made a lot of their money, were through those, because you could make multiple prints. I also have this one I've had for a very long time. It's a beautiful watercolor of Mont Saint-Michel, which is in France. I do believe it's more northern France. Or maybe it's southern. Whatever the case, Mont Saint-Michel is a really cool, it's a beautiful monastery that, as you can probably guess here, when high tide comes in, essentially becomes an island. And it's beautiful. It's one of the most visited sites in the world, I believe, rightly so. It's just so beautiful. Got those, and I've got some photos here. This is this is from the Acropolis in Athens. And this is of Winged Nike, or Nike, the statue that's in the Louvre. These two I think are gonna go in my bedroom though. I'm thinking they're gonna go there above my dresser, because I had two pieces hanging there and I took them down because I ended up not really loving them. I'm gonna bring these back. I think I'm gonna keep these there. The other pieces we've got, these are original artworks that were gifted to me years and years and years ago. My grandmother. These are ones with hooks, so I gotta hang them. They're beautiful. So it's like I have 4 pieces that are like artworks. All the rest are kind of like prints or photographs. And then obviously, BTS Love Yourself. This was over my desk, but I changed up what's over my desk. As you can see, I have a scroll. This is from Grandmaster Dramatic Cultivation. Specifically, the art has been obviously done in the style of an old Chinese scroll, but also the characters have been based on the actors as they were in the live action, The Untamed. We've got Halatees, which leads us to, of course, Halazia. And then here is a signed art print from the Red Rising series, which is the Pyramid of Colors. Which, if you haven't read the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown, I literally can never recommend that book series enough. It is one of my favorites, and I needed Red God like yesterday, but Pierce can take his time. I will wait for brilliance. Move me back all the way over here as I try and figure out what the hell I'm gonna do here. How badly did I do? Oh, that's actually kind of even. Hey! But also, seriously, where the hell did my laser level go? I bought it. It's not that big. Where the fuck did it vanish to? I literally have no idea where it went, and it's freaking me out that I can't find it. I just bought it. It's so weird. Oh, yeah. This is the poster that I said was laminated, and I gotta figure out what to do with it. So you can get these little, like, clips and holders, and yes, it is signed by the broadcast, the Phantom of the Opera that I went to go see when I was 15? 15, yes, sounds about right. Sounds right. But yeah, so I'm probably gonna get a little, you can put like little magnetic holders on the top and the bottom, so I think I'll do that. Okay. I'm sure they say you should plan a gallery wall. I was never good at planning. It's gonna bother me forever, guys. Sorry I keep repeating, like, where the heck did this laser level go? I can't get over it. I don't know where it went. I'm befuddled. I'm perplexed. We'll pause here for now because I don't want to do anything until I've got the frame for this, because then I can really figure out where it's going to go. And that will help me better settle Mont Saint Michel, Rembrandt, and BTS. Probably also Phantoms up by that. We're still a work in progress. I found the laser level. I stared at it 5 times yesterday and just did not clock. This is where it was. It was exactly where I figured I had put it. Huzzah! I found the laser level, which will be great for when I put the rest of these images, art, and stuff up. But we're there. And I've decided the Oxford coats of arms will go here. But we're at least there. And that does mean that soon, my people, I will then tour you this. Wahaha. Oh yeah, we literally have like 1 more piece to put up. Well, actually 2, I think. But oh my god, we got that. We got that. We got that. It's going good. It looks so good, guys. Also, we have, of course, always gotta have a blanket. Got my husband pillow. That's what I've always called them. Is that even what they're actually called? I don't know. But now we also have a pet blankie. Even though this is very pet safe, I just figured, when you got a dog with kidney disease, well, better safe than sorry. Put the blanket down. And a fancy cool looking pillow, because you fancy cool looking pillow, of course. Next will just be tackling this window. I'm gonna hopefully put some like semi-sheer kind of curtains up and then some stuff for the sill. Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
It is time for the last bit of this entire saga of refreshing this area, which I'm excited for. We've got curtains and we've got windowsill. Am I likely to put up more art and other things in the meanwhile or afterwards? Yes, highly likely. I see blank space, I want to fill it. Let's probably do the curtains first and get those done. And again, as responsible renters, we use Command products. I swear to God, I'm not sponsored by Command. They make good stuff. And this was a trick I had seen because I had wondered about how to get curtains up there, because I really don't want to have to drill any holes in the wall if I don't have to. And one thing you can use these are meant for like broom handles and stuff, but they have incredible gripping power. So let's get these bad boys settled. Oh yeah, it turned out well. Show my shelf. Almost forgot about that middle one. Truly not so too shabby if I do say so myself. Which I do. Now I do have one thing that has not yet arrived for this mantle, which is okay, because I had to order it off of Etsy, which is a little bust of Athena that I want to put there. I think it will be. Did this come with batteries, or am I adding them? I think I need to add them. I need to add them. Of course you take double A's. If only you took triple A's, because I have like 6 billion batteries. Easily distracted by dogs and books. Correct.
That is correct.
A huge shout out goes to Valencia Home Theater Seating for sending me the Valletta leather sectional sofa that you saw me sort of set up and then include here. When given the chance to pick a piece, I loved this one because it did arrive in a couple pieces, which was super helpful to me. It is made with 100% Italian Napa leather, which is in fact also pet friendly, which is huge for me and Peg. And obviously something that I love the most about it is the fact it's got manual headrests. I can't thank them enough for reaching out to me and wanting to work with me. This couch is more than I could have ever dreamed, and getting it really kind of put my butt in gear to be able to set up this space, and refreshing it has done more for my sense of sort of like peace and comfort when in this space than I could have ever imagined. It's amazing.
I promised a bookshelf tour when I finished refreshing this space, and here we have it. I don't know, take you through each shelf, tell you if there's any sense of organization to it, and point out random things. I don't know. We'll see. This top shelf is entirely, I believe, yes, entirely, nonfiction. A lot of these are books that I likely listened to on audiobook well before I ever bought hard copies. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And that's because I tend to like consuming my nonfiction via audiobook. To me, it's like getting a really interesting lecture, and I can put it on while I work. So we have everything from various wartime books, so Band of Brothers and The Rape of Nanking, which I call Nanjing. Nanking, I think, and anybody can explain to me, has something to do with like the US versus at least the UK, but I think maybe almost everywhere else. I do believe the proper name for the city is Nanting. If anybody can explain to me why in the world Americans call it Nanking, that'd be great to know. And then the First World War by John Keegan. I got a book on Akhenaten, which I got one of the many times that I was in London at the British Museum, because Akhenaten to me is such an interesting figure. Like, imagine being a dude who like was pharaoh and sort of pissed off the established order of things so much. They literally carved you out of history. For anybody who wonders, Akhenaten was King Tutankhamun's father, and Tutankhamun was initially born as Tutankhaten. And because like something of the Aten, and that's because Akhenaten, who had a different name at first, and became really the first, I believe, recorded state monotheist. He wanted to have them worship the sun disk, the Aten. I just find him very interesting. And again, because so much of that, the pharaohs that came after were just like, and we are going to literally carve and gouge that out. It's also part of why Tutankhamun's tomb was sort of like forgotten about, because as the son of his father, like, who didn't really rule very long, they were kind of like, nah, we're just kind of gonna sweep you out of the way. These are a couple books from Native American history. I took a class my freshman year of uni that was, the title of it was Modern American Indian Lit. And I'm not sure whether, Native American, American Indian, I don't know which one is the correct one to say. But to these, so Genocide of the Mind and the Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, we read both of these in that class. Well, actually, no, Genocide of the Mind we read. Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee was sort of like extra reading if you want to, and I found it very interesting. Which I've listened to even more books on various tribes and their histories and their obviously interactions with the U.S. government. So, but those are two that I haven't have hard copies of. We've got, I guess I do have one that's not fiction, which is Ceremony by Leslie Marmon Silko, which was a book that I also read as part of that class. I think I put it there because I kind of didn't have anywhere else to put it, and it just seemed to make sense to put it with these other two books. And then we have a whole bunch of books on climbing disasters. ADHD, hi. Hyperfixation. First, there was a whole period, and every now and then I'll still get back into it, where you just like, I fixate on various disasters. One of them being climbing disasters. I don't know why. I'm never gonna go climb these mountains. I ain't going to Everest. I ain't going to freaking Denali. I ain't going to K2. None of it. But like, to me, it's fascinating. So, and Dead Mountain is about the Dyatlov Pass, which yeah. But Buried in the Sky, No Way Down are about K2. The Climb and Into the Wild are about the 96 Everest disaster. And then Denali's Howl is obviously about, what was it? I think it was in like the 50s, maybe the 40s. No, 60s, 67. An incident that happened on Denali, which was super interesting, not gonna lie. We've got a couple books on nuclear disasters. Can you tell this happened after I watched Chernobyl for the first time? So Midnight at Chernobyl, Ghosts of the Tsunami, and then obviously On the Brink, which both Ghosts of the Tsunami and On the Brink are about the Fukushima Daiichi disaster that happened as a result of the massive tsunami. So those kind of go together and they're very fascinating. I will say, I think Ghosts of the Tsunami, which is Death and Life in Japan's Disaster Zone Now, Richard Lloyd Perry, I've read another one of his books, which was a true crime book that took place in Japan, but this book I thought was phenomenal. It's very, to me, it sort of in a way reminds me of like the same kind of emotions I had when reading Voices from Chernobyl, which is you're getting a lot of accounts, but in this case, yeah, it's people kind of dealing with the aftermath and how the like ghosts and spirits and how that all kind of plays into like this profound kind of grief and PTSD that was surrounding like that area. So super interesting. The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. This is my grandfather's sort of autobiographical collection of essays, Fragments of a Life. This is psychology. And then these are a whole bunch of books on like Korean history and culture. So a lot of them are just straight up like Korean history books. There's a couple books specifically on the Gwangju Uprising, which, and then some books on like Korean shamanism, which I just find, is it Mudangism or Muism, which I find interesting. It's very difficult to find books in English on these topics. And I do not read Korean, so I'm in trouble there. Next we have our classics, or classical text, related texts, if you will. Hence we have Polyphemus, Bill, rest in sheep Bill, composer of great music. We have one of my favorite books that I love to read and bring up during book club, which is Meet Hero in 24 Hours, Bill, by Gregory Nadia. This is a textbook, as you can see, professional copy, not for sale, classical mythology. It was not sold to me. It was just straight up given to me by my grandfather. I think I was like 10. It was like bring your kid to work day, and I went with my Aunt Erin. And we happened to pop by my grandfather's, I think he might have been like at the tail end of teaching class and hung out, and he just gave this to me. And it's super great. It's also got a lot of really cool, like classical etchings, classic pieces of art and stuff in there to go with the stories. So this is like such a great resource. I'm like crazy that I have. A lot of these are books that are like either history, like SPQR, the Spartans. These are sort of analysis texts, if you will. We have a bunch of Greek tragedians, Euripides, Sophocles, Aeschylus. We have my Homer, Odyssey, and the Iliad. Excuse me, Polyphemus. We have the Aeneid, both the English, you can see very battered English translation that I used when I was studying it in high school, and then also a copy of the Latin for the first 6 books. Mainly because book 2 is like the super interesting book. Let's be real, that's the Sack of Troy, is the Dido story. And then some fiction that's sort of related to the topic. Song of Achilles, the Penelopiad, Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield, which is really great historical fiction. And then this is an interesting one, War Music, which is an account of Homer's Iliad. It's almost like a translation, almost like its own version, and sadly it was unfinished. So Christopher Logue, like this was sort of his magnum opus, but he died before he finished it. So it's also kind of cobbled together from his notes, and it's interesting. I always recommend it. Like if you're looking for something that plays with the Iliad and is like part almost own translation, part modernization, it's super interesting. So my grandfather recommended it to me, and I'm so glad he did, because it definitely caught my attention. Yes, Harry Potter has its own shelf. Look, my thoughts on the opinions of the author aside, these books were my childhood. By the time the final book was releasing, it released a couple days after I turned 17. So I very much grew up with these books. And the films and all of it were very crucial to my upbringing, and I do still love them. Acknowledging they are flawed, I do still love them. And a lot of stuff also in here was stuff that I was given as a gift. Like the whole page to screen massive tome you have here was a gift from my brothers. And a lot of this is stuff that I've had since I was a small kid. So some paraphernalia related to it. But I do love these books. Again, in the words of Youngblood, shame the author's a twat. Back into some fiction. Is there any rhyme or reason to this shelf? Not really. It's vaguely Europe. Vaguely. Ship of Theseus. So this is actually S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst, I believe they did together. It's kind of a cool book in that, yeah, you have the book, The Ship of Theseus, but the actual story is these like stuff that's written in the margins of these two students who are like trading the book back and forth and trying to figure out something about the author. So it's actually kind of fun. It's not the best version I've ever seen of somebody doing kind of like a story within a story, but it is actually quite cool. Yes, I have Robert Langdon books. They're fun. Get off me. I enjoy them. And the Da Vinci Code I actually read when the summer I was turning 15 in the airport on the way to France with my family. We were on a big family vacation because my paternal grandfather is from France, from Paris specifically, and it had sort of like the book had sort of just pretty recently, I think, hit paperback. So it was hugely popular, but they're fun books, okay? The Library of Forgotten Things, I think is the name of the series. But Shadow of the Wind. The 4 books in that by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, which is absolutely phenomenal. Kind of, how do I describe it? Noir meets a bit of magical realism. I really don't know how to pin those books. Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. I have read the full trilogy, but I just have a copy of the first book because frankly it's kind of, their covers are not the best. This is an arc of The Diviners by Libba Bray, which is, I remember doing a book swap with somebody for this and I hadn't realized it was a signed arc. The Diviners is a really cool series she was writing that was sort of supernatural, paranormal, but set in 1920s America. But I definitely always hold on to this one because I think it's awesome. Also, they redid the covers in the middle, and frankly, I liked this cover. I was kind of hoping they'd all stay like that. Ken Follett, Pillars of the Earth, great book. I've read quite a few of Ken Follett's. Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, Golem and the Genie, The Book Thief, Marcus Zusak, classic. I have a copy of Just the Inferno by Dante. It's what's called a New Verse Translation, Robert Pinsky. It is a bilingual edition though. So you'll have the Italian on one side and his English on the other. And I studied a little bit of Italian, so that's kind of fun for me. A lot of these are kind of just classics. So like Great Gatsby, Speak, Amadeus, Murder on the Orient Express, To Kill a Mockingbird, Hamlet. This is a book of analysis of Shakespeare stuff by Harold Bloom. Harold Bloom's a really great Shakespearean scholar. And this is a copy of the entire works of Hamlet. The binding is literally falling apart, so I used shelf liner to basically hold it back together. I don't know how to bind or rebind books. Trust me, that was a hobby I wish I could get into, but your girl don't need another hobby, and I probably couldn't afford another hobby, but if I had that hobby and I had the materials, I would rebind the shit out of this. These are what I like to call rom-coms in book form. Sometimes your girl just needs a rom-com. Now, not all of these are strictly romance focused. Like, for example, I would bring up the works of Emily Henry. What she writes is lit fic. It's literary fiction. Yes, there's a romance in there, but it's really not the main focus of the story. So it's great stuff. I have To All the Boys I've Loved Before, Jenny Han. I bought all of these as they released, and I have them signed and personalized by Jenny Han for all 3 of them, because she always usually comes back, especially at that time, she was always coming back to Richmond whenever she had a new book release, because I believe she is from here, and so that would always be her first stop, and I was always there to get them signed. We got some Beth O'Leary, so I have The Flat Share and The Wake Up Call. Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult. I really don't like Jodi Picoult or like her books. They just don't do it for me. But this one she did with her daughter, Samantha Van Leer, I thought was fun. It's essentially the idea of like, what if you got sucked into a book, kind of? And it's got some illustrations. It's very fun. And I have the sequel off the page over here. As you can see in this case, I did actually give them by color because it doesn't really matter that much. And yes, there is some Ali Hazelwood here, which, can you believe, when I first read this, I had no idea this had begun its life as Raylo fanfiction. And that's because I'm not in the fanfiction space. I was not in the Raylo space or anything. I had no idea, but like, how did I not look at this cover? I mean, to be fair, if I go in not knowing that, and it just reads to me like a contemporary novel, but then when I got told, I looked at the cover and went, oh my god, it's so obvious. Like, what on earth? And also one of my favorites of all time, which is I've Got Your Number by Sophie Kinsella. It's hilarious. I would also recommend the audiobook, which is wild because it does technically have like text. So there's like emoticons and stuff. So not emojis, actual emoticons. Old school here. And like the person who does the audio narration finds a way to include them and they're really funny. So I absolutely love them. And then over here, we've got some BTS stuff. I have my light stick, courtesy of my friend's aunt who gave it to me, which like I deeply appreciate. I was supposed to go see them in 2020, but you know, then the pandemic happened. So that tour got canceled. I do have an RM pop figure. These are copies of Butter, and which I won from a YouTuber who I don't think makes content anymore, but I deeply loved when she made content, which was Luhu. And then B, which was my first ever K-pop album purchase, I believe, because it used to be like really difficult to get them and it was hard to justify the expense. How in the heck did I manage to, there we go, that works. So that was kind of a big deal for me to do that. And finally down in here on the bottom shelf, if I can get you to see, this is my flute. This was from my graduation cap. My piccolo is hiding just over here because it's itty bitty and I have a music stand here. These are all books on like art. There's some sheet music, some sketchbooks, some coloring books. This is all sort of just like, a lot of the bottom shelves, because they're so huge, often become catch-alls in a way. But this is like music and art related stuff, basically. And I did kind of need a spot to store my flute, which I probably should go get repadded. It's been a very long time. Hello. Favorites that I couldn't really find places for. We have works of R.F. Kuang, we have Babel, and we have Katabasis. Yes, I bought the one with fancy sprayed edges. Yes, I have a misprint. Thankfully, my misprint is only the one where the diagrams are swapped. So it's pretty innocuous. We have my wonderful copy of UK paperbacks of the His Dark Materials trilogy because I loved these paperbacks. RIP to the Book Depository. You were my favorite place to go for UK editions and I'm sad. I have also, this was given to me by a friend, which was Lyra's Oxford. I have the first 2 books in the Book of Dust. Did he ever release the 3rd book on that one? Whatever, he can take his time. He's a genius. And another book by Philip Pullman, The Good Man, Jesus and the Scoundrel Christ, which is a great book and a kind of a pastiche of the Bible of all things. The Bartimaeus trilogy by Jonathan Stroud. You want to know how old it is? I have the original US hardback cover. This was literally the year it dropped. They never did the sequels in this cover style, and I'm forever sad because I liked it. Not that these are bad, but I prefer the original style. These are mine that I scribble in. This is a beautiful little portrait of Peg based on a photo that I had from Chewy when I first joined Chewy, which was amazing. And here we have some poetry. So we've got some Dylan Thomas, Walt Whitman, William Blake, and the great Wilfred Owens. It's kind of no real rhyme or reason up here. This is the Tanmei shelf. It is predominantly MXTX, which is Mo Sang Tong Xiu, which I'm very sorry if I mispronounced. So we have Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation and Heaven Official's Blessing. This is a bookmark. And then we have RBBCR, which is Roll Bao Chi Roll. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to say that, and I'm terribly sorry, which is all the remnants of filth, which is Yule, and then Erha, as it gets called, or Tuha, which is the Husky and his White Cat Shizun, and all of the volumes are not yet out in English, so I'm waiting for the final one that will go here. And these are just some random books kind of on Taoism, and that or not. I mean, I have The Art of War. This is called A Record of the Assembled Immortals and Gathered, Perfected of the Western Hills, and then The Way of Qigong. A lot of this just kind of helps me understand this world better, and I found it interesting. This is the K-pop shelf. It should really kind of be called the AT shelf, but there is some BTS related stuff here, but this is predominantly 80s albums. Various things from their membership, their photo books. Various stuff. Can you tell who my bias is? My bias is, I mean, I'm OT8, but my bias is Tonghua. Like, he hurts me in ways that I can't explain. He hurts me in ways that I can't explain. But I am really OT8. I like them all. And this box contains like paraphernalia from the membership kits and photo cards and other stuff like that. because I do tend to separate them out from the albums. But this is predominantly the AT shelf. And yes, I have the Lighties 2.0. Lighties 1.0 is on a different shelf. This is fiction, well, with a couple little pieces over there. This is predominantly fiction and by Asian or Asian American or Asian Canadian in one case authors. But that still count as American because you're North American, but I guess we don't really do that. And these are all in English, so some of them are actually in translation. For example, Human Acts by Hong Kong, which is one of the greatest books I've ever read in my life, and my favorite by her, is obviously translated out of English. And these two other books like Yong Ha Kim and Tae Yoon, I think, beautiful stuff. The works of Jun Her, who's one of my favorites. If you are into like K-dramas, and especially if you like a lot of the historical dramas, you want to read the works of Jun Her. Like, you want to read her books. And she's Korean, she's Canadian, and she's a diaspora writer, and her stories, they're labeled all as young adult. They're essentially, all of them are sort of murder mysteries set in different eras of Chosun, and they're so good because, and she always, her newsletters and everything else she talks about, like, she is really great. She obviously does all of her research. It's very close to her, and she's, her stuff is so good. I literally can't praise them enough. I love them so much. I'm excited for her next one, which is being pitched as a Pride and Prejudice inspired book in Chosun, and I'm like, hell yes, hell yes. We've got The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio. It's a retelling of the folktale of Shimtong, which is a Korean folktale. Really love this book. I have a video where I talked about the book and how much I loved it. Welcome to the Hanamthong Bookstore, Water Moon. So some of these, like, there's a lot of Korean writers here, but there's also, you know, Chinese American, Japanese American. So the Strike the Zither, Sound the Gong duology by Joan He. I believe this was sort of a play upon the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Really great. The Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang, her debut. Insane this was her debut. Yes, I have the UK paperbacks. They're beautiful. How do you not love these covers? Like, the ink, it's so good. Sweet Bean Paste. This is Hwang Sok-hyung, who's a really well-known Korean writer. I used to have copies of a lot of his other books, but The Old Garden is probably one of my favorites of his. And then we have the few nonfictions, one being The Memoirs of Lady Hae-kyung, which, thank you, Jun Her, for telling me this was a thing I could buy and read. She was the crown princess of Chosun. She was married to the kind of infamous Crown Prince Sado, and it's some of the best information we've got on sort of what was going on in the palace at that time. Book on Taoism, and this is called The Tao of Craft, and a lot of that has to do with like the sigils and stuff, and again, a lot of that sort of ties to also the Tanmei stuff that I was reading. Like, it just helped me kind of get a better sense of what I was looking at, even if I didn't always understand everything I was reading in some of those books. Mainly The Tao of Craft. This is the more slightly, I guess we could say, traditional kind of high-ish fantasy, if we will. Although it does have, like, some stuff that sort of relates, like, Britain After Rome and Beware the Banshees Cry. Like, Britain After Rome, obviously, there's a good thing to get is this, the Pendragon's Banner trilogy, which is a kind of a spin on the Tale of King Arthur, and I do really recommend, especially if you want something that takes sort of almost like a more historical angle and something like the Britain After Rome. So that's like pre the Norman invasion and all of that. Super interesting. Where the Banshees Cry, like the Banshee's just like such an interesting character, and I just wanted to read more of it. It helps with something I was writing. The Assistant to the Villain trilogy, which just like gives me joy. It's so fun. There are people who pick on it, and I'm like, it's just innocuous, light, fun. The idea is that literally our female lead works for a guy who is known in this kingdom as the villain. And it's just fun. It's ridiculous. And it's fun, and I love it. The Song of Ice and Fire books that are out thus far. This is a game called Bards Dispense Profanity. Got some Tolkien. Seraphina by Rachel Hartman. Great duology. I do think it's got a bit of a Deus Ex Machina ending in the second book. But, gosh, I remember the first time I read this. It was one of the first books I picked up, like, after I was out of school and I wasn't having to, like, or out of uni, and I wasn't having to, like, read for school. And I was just like, oh, this is so cool. Trader's Blade by Sebastien de Castel is the first book in what's known as his Greatcoat series. These are sort of like Three Musketeers-esque kind of fantasy, and it's really fun. The swashbuckling scenes are peak. They're so good. Winner's Curse trilogy by Maria Rutowski, which I do believe the first one at least is signed, because I got to see her at a book festival. Did I get the first one signed? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm insane. I don't know. I wouldn't know where it's signed. I could have sworn I did. Did I not?
Am I insane? That's what she said. Oh, maybe I am insane. I must be dreaming. Maybe I did a different one. I don't know. I could have sworn I got one of these signed. Whatever the case. YA, fantasy, really fun. I quite liked it. And then this is a really interesting one, The Kingdom of Little Wounds, which, woo, beautiful, very dark. It is marketed as YA, but I would question whether it is. It's pretty dark. How do I describe this? It says, on the eve of Princess Sophia's wedding, the Scandinavian city of Skugahun prepares to the fete, and it's all about, like, yeah, the main characters, it's a seamstress and a mute nursemaid, and it's sort of all about, like, kind of the dark shit that was the underbelly of sort of, like, the glamour that you find in the, like, fantasies, these high fantasies. It's very dark, mostly in, like, sexual violence, stuff like that. Like, it's not very explicit, but, like, you know what's going on. It'll make you feel kind of icky, but on purpose. And it's still very interesting, but it's wild. I was a big fan. I picked it up just because it looked so interesting. And then here, big books. These are all, like, very oversized books. We got some stuff on the art of various Ghibli movies, my battered Delirious Book of Greek Myth, The World of Ice and Fire, the Hamilton libretto, my printer. This is notes for something that when I write, I tend to try and keep all, like, research and notes and stuff together, and they often sit in a trunk, as I call it. And then this is, yes, the Red Rising board game. Yes, I have the Red Rising board game. It was a gift. I'm very fond of it. There we go. Books in foreign language. These are all in Korean. These are the librettos for one of my favorite K-dramas, Chicago Typewriter, Signal. This is the Korean version of The Red Palace by June Her, because it's beautiful. And again, RIP to the book depository. I can't buy from you anymore. And this is the novelization of Mr. Sunshine, again in Korean. Really fabulous K-drama if you haven't seen it. It's not perfect, it's not have problems. Also, Korean paperbacks, infinitely superior to US paperbacks. And I'll die on that hill. These are some actual, like, Korean texts, usually like poetry, kind of essay books. We need more essay books like these in the US. And also the care that's put into the design of these, like, they're beautiful. Wish we had more of those. This is random stuff from travel, so, like, foreign currency, passport stuff, old ticket stubs. I hoard the strangest things. Confetti from 80s concerts. Light Teeny version 1. Haha, you tried, but you're not gonna. Which, I do love the Light Teeny version 1. Not that version 2 is bad, but version 1 was... she a gem. And then some books that I got when I went to Japan. So, like, copies of Pride and Prejudice, first Harry Potter, Phantom of the Opera, in Japanese. Oh, the first book, Red Rising book in Japanese, and then this is some bit of Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation in Chinese, and signed by the two lead actors. So, Xiao Tan and Huang Yibo from the live-action version, The Untamed. And again, if I mispronounce those names, I'm sorry. I know Chinese is a tonal language, and I'm screwing it up. Predominantly kind of sci-fi. Yes, the Red Rising books. They're beautiful. I love them. It's one of the greatest series kind of ever written. I'll die on that hill. Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Probably my favorite book by her. Fahrenheit 451. So kind of dystopia as well. 1Q84. And then the Illuminae trilogy by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This first one especially, man, it was such an event when they came out. It was so cool. Vaguely certain era of mostly Europe fiction. We have a lot of Jane Austen, multiple copies of Persuasion and Pride and Prejudice. We have Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights. This is The Luminaries. This is a beautiful woven bookmark that was made in Cornwall that my dad or his partner got for me when they were touring around part of the UK. The Glamorous Histories. Am I forever bitter that this does not match the others? Yes, you have no idea. By Mary Robinette Cole. Kind of like, and in almost a pastiche on Jane Austen style as well, like Jane Austen, but if they had magic, and magic is related to glamour. It's super fun. I recommend, obviously, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Yes, I have the show tie-in. Don't judge me, okay? I'm not that mad at it. Also, yes, it is a chonker of a book. It's ridiculously huge. Revolution by Jennifer Donnelly. This is technically a sort of time travel book, not quite, dealing with the French Revolution, but it's very beautiful. This book completely messed me up to tears when I first read it.
which I told Jennifer Donnelly when I got her to sign it. I was like, you messed me up with this book. We have The Black Count, of course, and then The Count of Monte Cristo, unabridged Black Count, dealing with kind of the history of Dumas' family member that he's sort of loosely inspired as in Dante's around. Also one of the greatest books ever written. The greatest revenge story ever written, at least. North and South of Elizabeth Gaskell. The Scarlet Pimpernel, several copies of it. One of my favorite books ever. First read it when I was 13. Still forever in love with it. Absolutely adore it. The Night Circus and The Phantom of the Opera. Which, yes, I have actually read it. I'm not just a fan of the musical, though I am a fan of the musical. I have read the book many times. Roughly almost fairy tale-esque books. To a degree, although these three technically deal sort of with mythology, but they have a magical realism vibe to them, well, with the exception of the first volume of Lore Olympus. But Love in the Time of Global Warming and The Island of Excess Love are by Francesca Lia Bloch, and they are inspired by the Odyssey and the Aeneid, respectfully, very loosely, and they're kind of in a post-apocalypse with obviously global warming and all sorts of things. The Guardians of Childhood series by William Joyce. If you ever saw the film Rise of the Guardians, it is inspired by this book series. And William Joyce is a staple of my childhood. He also does all of his own illustrations and stuff, and he has a very kind of steampunky style that I was introduced to as a small child, which I absolutely love. And these are a great series, and again, they're illustrated, so great. We have our little Clara and her Nutcracker doll. Yes, that is from the Samantha American Girl doll. Nobody judge me, it's fine. The Inkheart trilogy. I know there's a fourth one. I haven't read it yet. Paulo Coelho, who I am a fan of. I first read The Alchemist, and I obviously have read a couple of his books. Look, we know who he is. We don't need to talk about it, but I do kind of like Ocean at the End of the Lane. Strange and Beautiful Stars of Ava Lavender. Absolutely stunning magical realism book. I do recommend it. It's very emotional, though. Winter Song and Shadow Song by S.J. Jones. These deal with their Elkonig, which is sort of the goblin, not the Goblin King, the elf, yeah, no, I guess the Goblin King. Very big for fans of Labyrinth, I guess, but she draws a little more almost, I think, from the, if anybody knows the piano and vocal piece there, Elkonig. Naomi Novik, Uprooted in Spinning Silver, my favorite books by Naomi Novik, and probably my favorite book by Maggie Stiefvater, The Scorpio Races, which I did get her to sign, and she draws a horse head real fast, too, man. It's wild how quick she does that. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. Manga. And some books from childhood. This is, oh my god, from my college days. We don't need to look at that. Full Metal Alchemist, Orange. Yes, this Ernie doll back here is from my childhood, so is the Where the Wild Things Are. And I have a little pop figure of Ernie. And these are all, like, from childhood. This is Madeleine, or what is known in English as Madeleine. We've got A Wrinkle in Time, Phantom Tollbooth, Holes, Bridge to Terabithia, and From the Mixed-Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frank Weiler. These are all books that are very pivotal to my childhood that I hold very dear. And last, but certainly not least, some sort of fantasy or whatever, but takes place in the real world, reasonably close to either the modern age or something, even if there's slight differences. Although this is the Dreadful Places lore book, which is super fun. The first three books in the Bone season, I have, for some reason, just never bought the rest of them. I think it's because, and this is no knock on Samantha Shannon, she takes her time in releasing them, and she had the Parry the Orange Tree and other stuff, but gosh, I remember reading this first time in 2013 and loving it. Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, the Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, and I have read an awful lot of Cassandra Clare, but I think these are kind of her finest work, especially in terms of this Shadowhunter world. So I hang on to them, even if, again, these covers are not my favorite. Ninth House and Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Some of my favorite stuff by Leigh Bardugo. Like, the absolute rage of Ninth House was something I vibed with very hard. Darkest Part of Explorers by Holly Black. Shades of London, well, now trilogy, by Maureen Johnson. I think there was a planned fourth book, but it never happened, which I am sad about, because I enjoyed it. Which is a girl has a near-death experience while she's, studying abroad in the UK, and so it means that she can then see ghosts, and they have to deal with that. The first three books in the Raven cycle, I had the fourth book, but I kind of didn't like the fourth book or the endings, so I just keep the first three, pretend the fourth one did not happen. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, because I kind of had nowhere else to put it. Trilogy, which is fabulous, and my favorite ever book work that was done by Brandon Sanderson, which is The Arithmetist, and I think was supposed to be a series, probably never going to actually happen because he's so busy writing other things, and I'm forever sad because this was the one I liked the most. Had like chalk drawings and stuff, and it was cool. They call it Arithmatics, and I'm like, Arithmancy? I don't know. It's cool. I enjoyed it. It was fun. And there will likely never be more of them, and I am
Sad.
And that is it. We have updated this whole space. I have a new couch, which thank you to, is it Valencia or is it Valencia? Because I think Italian, I go Valencia. Valencia theater seating. This couch is more than I could have ever dreamed. Can confirm, extremely comfy. I have napped on it. I've straight out slept through the night on it. Can confirm, super comfy, and Peg loves it. It allowed me to refresh this whole living, reading area. And I toured you guys my bookcases. My 3 very large IKEA bookcases. Probably not nearly as exciting as anybody thought it would be, but, you know, fun stuff. It's been a great time. I hope it lived up to everybody's expectations.